Okay, so this is going to be episode number 1. So we have Miss Adrienne LaFrance-Wells with us, and tell us what you do.
Happy to be here, Brian. I am the Main Street Director for the City of West Monroe, and I've been in my role for about 4 years and just loving every minute of it. We've made a lot of progress, and we still have a lot of progress to go.
So doing a little bit of homework, I see that you kind of started off with some projects in the City of Monroe.
Uh-huh.
How long did you work for the City of Monroe?
About 4 years or so.
So you were instrumental in the RiverMarket, right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting that
Starting
up and running?
the RiverMarket and worked at the Civic Center for a little while, and then relocated in Denver, the Denver, Colorado area, for a few years, and then came back home, and I was director over at Chennault Aviation and Military Museum.
Oh, really?
Before accepting this role now.
So one of the things that really interested me, and I wanted to have you on this for everybody kind of know, is that you and I met, I think, for the first time through the activity I do with the West Monroe Planning Commission,
Mm-hmm.
and you're involved in that on some level. But that's when I first got to understand about the City of West Monroe wanting to be, is it the correct term, Main Street certified for a downtown? What is that? I know it's something to do with like Louisiana Main Street.
Yes, so the Main Street program is a statewide and a national-wide
Okay,
program.
I didn't know it's national.
Yes, so it is a network of communities, about 37 communities across the state of Louisiana, and then I don't know how many nationally we have, but it's a wonderful tool. It's a roadmap using historic preservation in your economic development plan to look at your historic downtowns and truly know how to best utilize those assets and kind of start the economic development and all of that going.
So I know that I have to assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, so we started looking into, started down the path of Main Street, but kind of alongside of that right after, we went into a master plan for the downtown area. And I would have to assume that kind of worked together
Yes.
in a sense.
It absolutely did. So the Louisiana Main Street program has 4 points: design, organization, promotion, and economic revitalization. And all 4 points truly have to be working in tandem for the Main Street program to be working. Design, of course, is your streetscape.
Right.
And when you're talking about, a master plan, that's your streetscape right there. That's the roads, that's the sidewalks. It's how welcoming the district is. It's also, since we are a historic district, making sure that the character of our historic buildings remains intact. Whenever there is a property owner or a business owner that comes in the district or maybe wants to make changes to an existing business, the exterior changes all have to be approved by our Historic Preservation Commission. So that's the design principle. And then organization is our nonprofit. We have the Downtown West Monroe Revitalization Group. They were founded well before I was hired by the city and have truly been instrumental in leading the downtown into many projects and events that happen in the district. So you're required to be a member of the Main Street program to have that nonprofit arm.
Okay.
So you're able to fundraise, you're able to get sponsors, which we're always looking for to make these wonderful things happen. And then you have promotion. A lot of times, if people are not familiar with the Louisiana Main Street program or my position as a Main Street director, they only see the promotion aspect of it because it's a front-facing part of what we do. It's the events.
Sure.
It's the marketing. It's how we tell our story, whether it's, the Shop Small campaigns and the individual stories of our businesses, or festivals and events. We put on all of those events. We just released our Washita Live lineup for the year, our concert series. We put on those concert series not because we just love live music, which we do, but we want to give people an opportunity and a reason to come downtown and discover our progress and kind of see where we are, versus 3-4 years ago.
Sure.
So that's the promotion aspect. And then economic revitalization, of course, is the dollars and cents.
Sure.
That's the sales tax that our district brings. That's the number of vacancies versus buildings that are filled and are put to full use, over
We've
the
made
last
huge improvements in
we
that area.
truly have. Over the last maybe 4 years or so since I've been in the position, we've had over $13 million in private investment
Wow.
in the district. And that's property owners. That's getting those property owners on board, ready to be a part of our momentum and our progress. And then we also have over 80 businesses in our district, and we're a fairly small district. And about 40% of those businesses have opened in the last 3.5 years.
Yeah, and the amount of them that are thriving is just, it's wonderful to be able to see. It's very inspiring to know that you can have this public and this private connection that's actually pulling a community together.
And it has to work together.
Yeah, and
it can't just be the city, and it can't just be, the public. It's got to work in tandem.
Yeah, it's a partnership. So one of the things that really opened my eyes is when we're going through the master plan, all the meetings that we had, it really blew my mind at how much community involvement played a big role in some of the decisions that were made. And I truly feel that it's because of the city, you guys at City working with the community, inviting them in to say, hey, look, this is what we're wanting to do. Sure, it may be a little different than what you're used to in this area, but we want change to happen. And to see where we started, I mean, I'm sure it started before 4 years ago, but just when we started the master plan, to see the changes that have taken place to today, it's pretty impressive to be able to see that. Let me ask you this. What does it look like with the mix of business to have a thriving downtown? I know from a planning and zoning, we implemented some changes of some use by rights. I mean, that's kind of a little inside baseball talk, but when you have a thriving downtown, is it a diverse, or is it kind of, we were known for being antique alley, and I don't think we ever want to lose that tradition of what that was actually called.
Absolutely.
And I think it deserves a lot of respect, but as we develop as a society, when from a retail standpoint, change is going to have to come in and be able to have a little bit more diverse business. Tell me about how diversity in the business plays a part in that.
Sure. And we owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to the Antique Alley Merchants Association. They formed in 1987, and this was a time when downtowns across the country were boarding up and moving to strip malls, moving to shopping malls, and giving up on their downtowns. And instead of that happening in Downtown West Monroe Antique Alley, those business owners said, you know what, we're not leaving. Instead, we're going to organize and form a group,
Right.
and we're going to buy a billboard. So at the time, they were all pretty much all antique shop owners. And when they decided to start spending money and advertise and purchase a billboard, which is a huge, expense, they had to name themselves.
Sure.
So that's where the name Antique Alley came from. It was the merchants who named themselves Antique Alley, and it truly, over the years, it's developed into an attraction in and of itself. They put brochures in travel destinations and rest stops across the state, and they've spent a lot of money marketing the district. Now, the downtown, as we know it today, has evolved considerably. We still have our antique shops. But we have a number of specialty shops. We have a bunch of boutiques. We have a bunch of boutique shops in the downtown area. Restaurants. We have Flying Heart Pub, and they're a full restaurant.
Yeah, they made a huge investment in our area.
Yes.
I mean, they built from the ground up. And,
they did.
Bought in completely on it.
And funny story, I don't know if you realize how we got Flying Heart Brewing and Pub. But we were actually setting up in 2020, but right before COVID.
Right.
We were setting up for the Crew of Janus Mardi Gras Parade. So we were out there getting the barricades together, moving in vendors, and it was like 10:30 in the morning, and I see this group of guys walking around in polo shirts with logos on, and I don't know them, and they're looking in windows and they're looking at property, and so being the Main Street director, I go up and stick my hand out, going, okay, guys, I think I need to know who you are and what you're doing. And they were evidently scouting communities across North Louisiana for a second home for their brewery, which was originally located in Bossier.
Okay.
So they saw, they saw that activity, those events happening in downtown, and they were blown away, and they said, we want to be a part of this. So, within the next 2 weeks, we brought them in. We, had them meet Mayor Mitchell. It fit the downtown master plan. Based on public feedback, one of the things that the public wanted to see was a brewery or a distillery
Right.
in the downtown area. So they identified a piece of property that the city owned. We knew, since it fit along with our master plan, that it would be well received, and they have just done booming business ever since. They're open 7 days a week, 365 days of the year,
Wow.
even on Christmas Day. So that is a tremendous commerce opportunity for other businesses should they want to, take advantage of that traffic.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize how much of a city's budget is based on retail sales or restaurant sales. So anytime we're able to add a new business, it makes the health of our city that much better.
Absolutely.
And we're able to offer more things. I know one of Mayor Mitchell's passions is our parks, and they've just, I know it's outside of our downtown area, but there's a eventual plan to connect Caroli Park to Highland Park all the way to Lazar Park, which
And
runs
through
right through downtown.
Absolutely.
So
and so much of that has to do with your sales tax dollars.
so we wouldn't be able to have that if we were not pushing down that path. I know I've heard residents in the past say, man, why are we just putting so much into that downtown? Well, that downtown has a lot to offer, not only us for the benefit, but it brings a lot of people in. I mean, when you drive through there on a sunny Saturday afternoon, and you look at license plates, they're not all Louisiana license plates
And they're
coming
not
through.
always Arkansas and Texas and Mississippi either.
It blows my mind of
Yeah.
how that has become. As a lot of people would view us as a really, really small town. It's got a really small downtown, but it is a draw for people to come in. And I think that I've just seen over the past several years just that consistent growth of making things happen. So let's advance it. So we know that we've made a lot of progress in this area, and we know there's a lot more to be done. And we're specifically mainly talking about the downtown area. I know that with the entry coming in at the Endom Bridge where Traps is, we've got that area looking much nicer. That's leading people towards the downtown. I think we have a marina that's almost about to be launched. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So the City of West Monroe purchased a piece of property on the river right there next to the railroad bridge, which is, of course, very key to the establishment of
Sure.
West Monroe, and near Traps. And it is in the downtown West Monroe Historic District. It was purchased to do several projects on that property, one being a boat marina, which is already in place. They're putting the finishing touches on it now to make everything accessible and safe for the public. Also, it will have a fishing pier, a public fishing pier.
Awesome.
We received a wildlife and fisheries grant to help with that, and we're raising the money for the match. And then we'll also have an amphitheater, a performance amphitheater
Wow.
on the property, which I believe will be in the third phase. So we can start having those concerts or additional concerts right there on the water, or programming on the water. And of course, the Downtown West Monroe Revitalization Group presents the fireworks for both cities twice a year. So, talk about the very best view of the fireworks. I think it's going to be at that amphitheater. So a number of things will be happening because, again, right back to the downtown master plan, the public wants to see us activate that river.
Sure.
They want to be able to use the river and really benefit from people getting on the boats and coming up, having a beer, going shopping, and just having us celebrate our natural resource.
It's one of the biggest landmarks that we have in the area. You can't miss the Ouachita River. And
Right.
now knowing that we're going to have access to it as a community is going to be fantastic. So what do you see is going to be kind of the next phase for downtown? What is, if you could wave your magic wand, I know that it takes a lot of public along with private partnerships to make
Right.
things happen. What is the next big dream for the downtown? What do you see that being?
Well, I think we need to continue to look at filling those vacancies. Today, or maybe I should say recently, the Arts Council just had a ribbon cutting in downtown. They're now located on Cotton Street.
Okay.
So that particular building is a perfect example of what can happen to a vacant downtown building. So it's been vacant for a number of years, and it was one of the more challenging buildings because it went straight through. When I say that, that means that you enter from the Trenton Street side, and then it goes all the way straight through to Cotton Street. So it makes a lot of those Cotton Street facing buildings, they go straight through, and they weren't necessarily originally built for your customers in the back, so they're not up to code. So when we looked at putting them in downtown on Cotton Street, we knew we needed to work with TBA Studios. Mm-hmm. They partnered with us. Tim Brannon is a wonderful architect, but also a property owner in downtown and a visionary. Sure. So he put up a firewall to where there was able to be retail on the Trenton Street side.
And I'm sure that was a big investment for him as well.
It was. It absolutely was. So you've got Bayou Chocolate having retail, bringing chocolate downtown, which is something we hadn't had. And then on the backside, on Cotton, or what we considered the backside, is now the Arts Council. Upstairs, we have a beautiful residential apartment with a balcony overlooking, downtown. So that's really the ideal scenario. If we could start seeing, particularly the properties on Cotton Street and Commerce Street, get up to code and be able to expand into more retail or whatever is needed, that is truly the dream. And I think that we'll start seeing more of that development and investment.
Yeah, and I think that's important for people to understand is that downtown West Monroe is just not Trenton Street.
That's right.
It's Commerce.
It is a district.
It is hitting Cotton,
Natchitoches.
Yeah. So there's a wide area and still opportunity for great investment down there.
That's right. A funny thing, Wood Street has really experienced a lot of growth over the last couple of years. And, one of the businesses that everyone kept telling me, we need a flower shop. We need a flower shop. And, of course, now we have a flower shop, Southern Flower Exchange on Wood Street. And then right next to it is a beautiful high-end boutique, Vince & Co. And then you've got an organic market for his temple. And a coffee shop, 7th Square, and then an investment firm right there, and the owner of Southern Flower Exchange was joking to me the other day, and I absolutely love it. He said, we're a little more upscale on Wood Street, and we're calling ourselves the Fifth Avenue of Trenton. So,
I love it. I love it.
You're going to start seeing that, and we are seeing that. So it will keep spreading, and the more development that's smart for the historic district, the better.
And I think the more activities that we have in the area is going to bring more awareness to it. Mm-hmm. And again, I can't stress enough from a real estate standpoint, there's a lot of financial incentives with for tax credits for someone to really come in and invest in one of these buildings to bring it up to code, to be able to make it make sense for them. So we
are a historic district. we are also a National Register district. So that means property owners and business owners are able to do what's called stacking of tax credits.
Right.
So you have a 20% tax credit on the state level, and then you have a 20% tax credit on the federal level with the National Register District. So when you're able to do those private investments, you can get the tax credits. Now, all of those improvements on your buildings must be to the Secretary of the Interior standards because it's a historic tax credit program.
Absolutely, but still great opportunity for someone
Absolutely.
to be able to come in and do something that would have been cost prohibitive several years ago, but with the assistance of these tax credits, make it really feasible to make that happen nowadays.
The Hatchell building is a perfect example. So we have Spice and Tea, we have
Right.
Just Peachy, we have a beautiful loft residential area upstairs, and a number we have public restrooms downtown, which I mean doesn't sound like glamorous, but we needed public
We definitely
restrooms.
needed them.
So that particular building, which was a tax credit project, again from TBA Tim Brandon, that would not have been feasible without the tax credit program.
But you mentioned even though when going into the downtown area, we're still pretty close to some residential neighborhoods. But there's actually living space that's in the actual downtown area that people are beginning to really enjoy. So if you just kind of had to shoot from the hip, how many residential spaces do you feel like is actually in the downtown area now?
So inside the district, we have roughly 100 units.
Wow.
So, whether that's a home or apartment or condo or loft space, that's just right there in the immediate district.
Wow, where someone can just, walk outside, walk and go shopping, to be able to go to
Right.
walk to a restaurant, to a park. We have a lot of activities for them.
And that's a symbiotic relationship
Sure.
because when you have people there, then they're going to shop in your local businesses.
Correct.
They're all in. A lot of them, they want to park their car and then just walk and get everything that they need. I know the owner of Jack's Craft Smokehouse, Christy and Tracy Carter. They will be moving on Commerce Street.
Okay.
Which is a building across from Flying Heart Brewing.
Wow.
And they will be bringing in a market, a high-end market. So they will have meat, they will have produce, they will have bourbon, high-end liquor, and wine. And that is filling a need for, some of the things that the downtown master plan identified
Sure.
through public feedback. Residents want a place to go and get that special meat or that special cheese and bottle of wine, and then just be able to walk back home. And they'll pay a little bit more for it.
Absolutely.
So really excited about that business.
It's fantastic. I really appreciate you taking the time to come out and talk with us today. When we started the idea of putting this together, trying to think of who do I want to come and be the first guest, and I told you from the beginning you were my number one person. I just really admire the energy that you bring to our area. I admire the activity you have within our community, not just in your job, but when I see you around town, whether it's the Art Council or whatever, you are bought and sold in our community, and that just really speaks volume to me. So just thank you for all you do for our town.
Well, thank you, Brian. I have a wonderful support system with everyone downtown and our board, and Mayor Mitchell's team is just a dream to work with.
All right, well, thank you.
Yes.